Everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica and our new side series, Light Gun Lounge. We're going to be taking a look at 10 great light gun games you can play at home. First game we're taking a look at right here is Confidential Mission, released in 2000 by Sega and Hitmaker. It came out on the Naomi platform, but it was also ported to the Dreamcast. That's what we're going to be playing it on here. We are using the light gun, but you do need to be careful with this game. If you import a Japanese light gun, weirdly enough, there's some region lockouts on the guns, so you need to use an aftermarket North American light gun. Since light guns didn't come out in North America for the Dreamcast, that's something that Sega didn't make themselves. Really not sure why. There's some presumptions, maybe, cultural, but otherwise, getting right into the gameplay here, Confidential Mission is a pretty funny game. It definitely has a lot of James Bond sort of spy feel to it with some fun humor. Of course, like any Sega arcade game, the voices are absolutely abysmal. You'll never get that disc. I love that. You have this chubby little guy running around with this disc, and basically the premise is they're trying to control a government satellite to be able to destroy things. I think that might be taken straight from a James Bond movie. I don't know the James Bond series totally, but that sounds like maybe Moonraker? I don't know, you tell me in the comments below. But as far as the gameplay is concerned, this doesn't get talked about nearly as much as something like Virtual Cop 2 on the Dreamcast or even House of the Dead 2. Although this is one of my favorite games on the Dreamcast as far as light gun shooters are concerned. It has a great sense of humor. The graphics are decent. They're probably not the best. You get a lot of repetitive enemies, but of course that's what always happens. And weirdly, the grenades, if you just shoot them, they just have an explosive radius and kill a few enemies in the area, but you can't actually take them with you and use them later, so that is kind of strange. Picked up an assault rifle here. There's a lot of zooming in this game, just like Virtual Cop. It was made by a different department in Sega, but you can definitely see that it looks a lot like Virtual Cop, where you have those circles over the enemies that are showing you how close they are to hitting you, and I do take a hit right there. I will say that the aftermarket Dreamcast guns aren't the greatest for accuracy. There was definitely a lot of flutter when I was shooting, so it was harder to play. But you get this rope launcher right here, and you get these sequences where you have to hit a target or else the route changes. And you're going to see here I zoom in on that clock. I take my shot on the time, and I hit it, so I'm able to slide right into that building. So the alternate paths in this game, or the alternate results, is just whether or not you succeed or fail at one of those little mini-game shooting games. But we were able to succeed, so we're going to slide right into the building here. And you get this fun little camera angle. They definitely did as much as they could, for an arcade game to make this look impressive. I would say replayability, like any light gun game, is going to be very narrow. I mean, there's not much here outside of the actual game itself, so you are going to get a limited amount of use. And of course, you do need to have a CRT television to play this. What I did was I played this on my PVM. I put the signal in, and then I took it back out of the back into my FrameMeister, and then into an Elgato HD60 capture card. So to capture these games with a light gun, I will say, is a giant pain in the butt. It is not easy. The amount of wires that are sitting on the ground is just crazy, and you have to keep track of everything. But it does work. It's just a little bit of a hassle, but this entire series is hard to produce. Doing the voiceovers don't take too much time, the editing I'm used to, but I will say that actually capturing light gun games is a bit of a mess. So we got the first boss down here, and we're going to be going on to the next stage. There's a lot of good gameplay elements. You have to snipe him from behind those different statues, so there is a lot of fun to be had, and now that we have that disc, we're able to go. I do love that the main character, I'm not sure what his name is, wears a tuxedo with a bow tie the entire game. He throws a few costumes on now and then, but he's definitely going to be rocking that tuxedo the entire time. Get a little story here. It's really limited, but you have this terrorist here, and we have our little camera in there. And now we're going on to the train sequence. We do have a lot of hostages, and they're pretty easy to hit. I mean, obviously it's an arcade game. They definitely didn't want you to be able to beat the game without pumping in a bunch of quarters. So at times, like any light gun shooter, it can feel pretty cheap just because most light gun shooters are made for the arcade and ported to the home. I mean, something like House of the Dead Overkill was made specifically for consoles, and we will be showing you that in a later episode, so that doesn't have as many pitfalls of shooting hostages and taking a loss of a life. But as far as arcade origin games are concerned, you're definitely going to get that now and then. The train level, I would say, is probably the weakest of the three because it just keeps going on and on. It's a really long level, but nothing really changes too much. You're going to see we go out the window here and on top of the train, but you're going to end up right back in there. So this snowmobile shooting sequence is definitely a lot of fun, and it breaks it up. But I would say that Mission 2 is definitely the weakest. And I don't know what it is about light gun games, but I feel like Mission 2 is always the worst. If there's 3 missions or whatever missions in the middle, that mission 2, the middle one, is always going to be a little bit less fun than the rest of the game. Usually the first mission introduces you to the game, obviously, and it's really exciting, and then the third is going to be, you know, the main boss fight, so that's good too. For some reason, all these games kind of lag right in the middle. I would say Total Vice is kind of the same way. We've captured that on the channel before, and a lot of the light gun games I played for this series are definitely maybe not the greatest in the middle. But as far as do I recommend picking this game up? Absolutely. It's not the cheapest Dreamcast game, because I'm sure it didn't sell very well back in the day when it came out in 2000. I picked my copy up for $25. 25 to 35 seems to be the range that you're going to hit, and strangely it isn't much cheaper as a Japanese copy versus a North American copy, so really I would just suggest if you really want to play this game, pick up a North American copy, pick up an aftermarket light gun. I'm using the, I think, Mad Catz one. I'll have to check the intro and see what it really was. It may have been something different, maybe the Interact, can't remember, they all look the same. But it definitely plays really well with that gun, minus the float issue. But I could take it apart and clean the lens on the inside. It could just be something like that that needs maintenance. But now that we have that definite, not Russian guy, and he has exploded, we're going to be going on to the last mission in the game. And I was able to complete this on 1 credit. You start this level with this super annoying tunnel sequence, and let me tell you, it is almost impossible to hit all these turret guns as you slide down. No matter how much I tried, I just kept taking hit after hit after hit. And I think I actually beat this game with 1 life remaining and no credits. So I was able to finish it from the start without having to save and then kind of like unlock things. Like in House of the Dead, as you play that game more, you're going to unlock extra credits so the game becomes a little bit easier. But on this one, I was able to beat it my first time around. Will I play this again? Not for some years, or maybe if I have some friends over, but like, I'll light gun games. Your mileage definitely varies, but I love this genre. I miss light gun games in the arcade, so for me, having a light gun collection and a TV to be able to play them on is awesome. I do hope at some point in time that they figure out how to make light gun games compatible with LCD TVs. I know people are working on it, and there's a couple options that aren't quite finished yet, but the amount of hardware you need to play these games, you definitely need to want to love them and enjoy them to be able to bring all that hardware into your house and have it sitting around waiting for these games. But as far as confidential missions are concerned, like I said, it's a super fun game. It's basically Virtual Fighter, except as a spoof of James Bond, and I definitely like that storyline. You get a lot of these great zooms, like I mentioned before, that are very prevalent in Virtual. I think I've been saying Virtual Fighter this whole time. Virtual Cop, I'm sorry. Virtual Fighter is always stuck in my head as like the Virtua series from Sega. As opposed to going back and editing that, I'm just going to leave it in because it seems more fun. But now you have the main villain here with his eye patch, and he has taken over that satellite, and you're going to have to battle him. I would say as far as final boss battles are concerned, it's pretty fun. There's a lot of different unique elements. He has these, some sort of skipping flying turrets, and then he jumps out and shoots you. He also has some fog and the ability to turn invincible and invisible at the same time, where you can't hit him. And there are parts in this fight where you can't actually damage the box, even if you hit a direct hit. You will see there that I hit him when he was invisible, and that takes a large chunk of his life out. So you want to kind of like time your shots and be able to hit him at the right time. But you're going to see right here, we're able to take him down. The end is really strange. You're going to see that he just comes up here and you just unload your clips on him and reload before he's able to hit you. So probably the most anticlimactic moment of the game is actually killing the boss at the very end there. But now that we have killed him, he's going to hit that submarine and he's going to try to escape. And just like the Silent Scope series, you're going to have one last interactable element that you need to do to be able to actually kill the boss. But weirdly, at least on the Dreamcast version, you don't shoot. You use the D-pad and the buttons on the side of the controller. I've never played this in the arcade before, so I'm presuming you were able to actually shoot at it, but you'll see here that all I have to do is line up that targeting reticle over the ship, submarine, and hit the button, and we lock on, and we hit it, and we're going to destroy him. So I'd assume that was supposed to be shot in the arcade version. It seems really weird that the entire game you're using the gun as a light gun, and then at the very last minute they say, hey, actually, why don't you just use the D-pad and a button? Confused me. I'm at least glad I beat the game this way so I could show you the ending versus having to go back through and play the whole thing just to be able to do that one little sequence. But short of that, that's Confidential Mission for the Dreamcast. It's a great light gun game. I definitely highly recommend it. I like it a little bit more than Virtua Cop. And see, I said cop there, not fighter. I was able to actually rectify that. But it's not the cheapest game in the world, so your mileage may vary, but as far as Dreamcast shooters are concerned, House of the Dead 2 is going to be the best. This I like maybe secondarily, and then I say Virtual Cop 2, which you will be seeing, is probably my third favorite game on the platform. But thanks so much for watching. We hope you like the new series, Lake and Lounge. We'll be back on Sunday with another episode, as well as Tuesday for our mainline series. Thanks so much for watching. If you could do us a huge favor, hit like and subscribe. Definitely helps us out. Otherwise, we hope you have a great weekend, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
It's a confidential mission.